All right. So, hey, hi, Miss Haslam. How are you?
I'm good, Miss Patterson. How are you?
I'm good. Okay. So, thank you for meeting with me this afternoon. I know this is a bit different and odd since we have to meet through Teams, but with everything going on, this is best. And thank you again.
No problem at all. I don't mind. You're welcome.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the reading lesson that that you've been doing on Main Idea. I know things are done differently this year since teachers are teaching from home and the students are completely virtual now. But you always seem to make the students engaged in your lesson, your reading lesson. And you modeled the metacognitive strategy, which was asking questions during your read aloud. You engaged the students lesson, and the students really seemed eager and ready to read during your phonics and small groups.
They
Okay.
were. I love my job. I love working with kids. I love to make them. I try to make my lessons as fun as possible. I know some kids don't like reading, but I just try to make them so they'll be more actually engaged and want to learn how to read. So yeah, that's
Because even like in some of the lessons, when you tell the kids to raise their hand, I'd be like, "Ooh, I want to raise my hand."
get involved too. Nothing wrong with that. Hey.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and it's just like a normal conversation. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst lesson that you taught and 10 being the best, how would you rank that lesson?
Well, since we've been learning about main idea, like I said, we're gonna use that lesson. From a scale of 1 to 10, I rank myself as a 7 on that lesson.
Okay. So, what pleased you about that lesson?
Well, what pleased me about that lesson is that most of the kids were able to grasp the concepts of learning main idea and supporting details, even though they kind of caught on to identifying details before they kind of caught on to the main idea. They still had a little trouble with as far as getting out the details for me. They were able to do that, but I was just amazed that that most of them were able to tell me the main idea, but the details came first. So
Okay. And what would you, what would you change to move that lesson closer to a 10?
yeah, if I could change something on that lesson, I guess the way that it was delivered, we use a curriculum called Benchmark Literacy. And with Benchmark Literacy, everything is scripted. So that means we have to follow and say everything that's written. We can't like deviate from the script. And sometimes the way that the wording is in Benchmark Literacy is a little bit harder for the kids to catch on. So I wish I could, kind of deliver it in a way that's more kid friendly, I guess to say, so they can kind of catch on to the concept.
Right. Because even some of the saying the word metacognitive strategy is kind of hard for
They don't know.
first graders concept because they're thinking like, what's that word?
What's that word? And what does that mean? And it sometimes it don't matter how many times you tell them, they still don't understand what that word means. So I just kind of wish we could change the way that it is delivered to the kids. Some of the wording, like I said, is kind of over their head. So I would change that.
Okay. Hey, what would your students be doing differently if your class was a 10?
If I could change it, it would be more individualized practice for the students on that particular lesson. I want to see them doing more with benchmark literacy. Again, is more of us doing a lesson as whole group, not so much as us, I do, you do, we do, they do. It's not more of that. It's more of us doing it together. I'll have my spiel and then we do it as a whole group. So what I want to see is them being able to apply the concept more individually, see what they can actually do, not so much as whole group.
Okay. So tell me more about what that would look like.
So if I could do it the way that I wanted to do it, I would more pictures. I would start out like, showing pictures, like various pictures. There's an activity that I found is called the empty bag, or the missing bag or something like that. I can't think of real. But anyway, what the kids are doing is that I'm showing them pictures. So it will be pictures where, just say for instance, I have a beach ball, I have a beach towel, I have a sand bucket, and I have a beach chair. The kids will actually have to figure out what's going on. So they will have to figure out the main idea based on pictures. So with those 4 pictures, the kids will have to grasp the concept of saying, well, I see a beach ball, I see a sand bucket, I see a beach chair, I see a beach towel. So that must mean these pictures are trying to show me that someone's at the beach. So I feel like kids might learn a little bit better by going by pictures, because everybody don't kind of grasp the concept if you're giving them a text, if you're giving them a book we're reading, you're telling them to a little passage, and you're saying, find me the main idea inside that passage. Well, they might not be able to identify that main idea in the passage. So I feel like you need to start them at step 1. Step 1, showing them some pictures. They're being able to identify, the main idea based on some pictures, and then you can gradually move them up to a passage and being able to determine the main idea and supporting details.
Yeah. Okay. So how would we measure that change?
You will pretty much like I do now, weekly assessments, based on what I've taught that week, what we've learned that week. At the end of the week, I'll give them a little assessment where they will have to, maybe look at some pictures and identify the main idea based on those pictures. And then, based on what they do, I'll be able to tell, what part they're having trouble. If they're having trouble with identifying the main idea, or you're having trouble identifying the details. So I'll measure it like that based on what I teach that week. At the end of the week, I'll give them a little assessment to see if they kind of comprehended what I've taught them.
Okay. And do you want that to be your goal?
Of course. Yes, I want it to be a goal, because I want to make sure that they've all, caught on to what I've taught them, and that they're able to apply what I've taught them. If they're able to master that goal, then I'll know that they understand, what the lesson that I taught. So, of course, always a goal.
And if you could hit that goal, would it really matter to you?
Yes, it would matter. It should matter to everybody, because everybody wants the kids to succeed. So yes, if I can hit that goal, yes, it's gonna make a big, difference to me, because I know that they, like I said before, I know that they mastered the skill. I know that they understand what I taught them. I know that they're able to identify a main idea and able to point out details about that main idea. So, yes.
Good. And what teaching strategy can you use to hit your goal?
Okay, what I said before, starting them off slow, not just giving them a passage and saying, okay, well, this is how we find the main idea. Starting them off with pictures at first. Using pictures, I feel like all kids don't learn the same. Sometimes kids are better receptive when they see a picture versus them looking at something that they got to read. So I feel like if I use that strategy of starting them out with pictures, and then we can gradually move up towards them reading a passage and identifying what the main idea and details in that passage. So I want to start it out. My strategy is just using those pictures, using the pictures as a guide. We look at these pictures, we determine what these pictures are trying to tell us, and then we can move up to passages and identifying what we need to learn out of the passages.
Right. Okay. And so what are your next steps?
Well, my next steps is, being that I have to use benchmark literacy, I have to, but I do have time, we call PUP period. So during PUP period, what I could do is take the strategies as far as like using the pictures to kind of help some of the kids. If there are some kids that struggle with it, I could use that as like a remediation, and use PUP period to give those pictures, use those pictures to help the kids to understand what these pictures. When we got to find out what are these pictures trying to show me. I have 4 pictures. I have a cup. Well, I have some chips, I have a sandwich, I have some fruit, I have something to drink. Well, what do these pictures have in common? What can we say is the main idea of these pictures? What are these pictures really trying to show us? I can take those pictures, and then they can apply it and say, well, these pictures are trying to show me that we're talking about some food. So I'm going to use my pictures as a guide, pictures as a remediation, to try to help the kids better grasp the concepts of main idea and supporting details. Even though with the pictures are the details, it's coming at you backwards. They're looking at the details first, and then from the details, you got to figure out, well, what's the main idea. But I feel like if I use that, then it should be a little bit better, easier for them to figure out, what I'm trying to teach them. Main idea, supporting details.
Right. Okay. So, well, thank you for meeting with me over Teams. Okay. So,
You're welcome.
have a good day. Right.
You too. You too.